Most women forget the men who gave them the world, but they never forget the man who didn't flinch when he had to walk away. Not because he stopped caring, but because he cared more about something deeper, his peace, his purpose, and his principles. Welcome to Stoic Inspire, where we don't chase approval, we cultivate power. In this video, we're going beyond the pickup lines, beyond the romantic cliches, and into the heart of what truly makes a man unforgettable to a woman. Not in the moment, but in her memory. It's not about looks. It's not about status. It's not even about how much you did for her. It's about who you were without needing her validation. It's about the energy you carried, the kind that can't be faked. It's about the way you made her feel without ever losing yourself. The Stoics taught us something modern men have forgotten. He who is brave is free. Seneca. And freedom isn't found in chasing affection. It's found in the ability to remain grounded when others are ruled by emotion, to lead with reason when the world screams for reaction, and to walk away with dignity when your values are tested. In this video, I'm going to reveal 7 Stoic traits that make a man unforgettable, not because he begged for attention, but because he embodied something rare: stillness, strength, scarcity. The kind of man who didn't try to impress her. He impressed upon her psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually. So if you're tired of being forgotten, overlooked, or disrespected, this message is for you. Let's begin. 1. He never chases her, because his energy is already complete. Chasing is the behavior of a man who believes he's missing something, that her attention will complete him, that her validation will prove his worth. But the Stoic man, he doesn't chase because he is not seeking to be filled. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Seneca. And nothing wastes more of your life than chasing someone who doesn't see your value. A man who chases a woman places her above his purpose. He abandons his rhythm. He breaks his stride. He trades his mission for her approval. And in doing so, he becomes forgettable. Because a woman doesn't crave a man who orbits her. She craves the man who moves through life with gravity, a man who pulls her in not with words, but with energy. When you chase, you signal desperation. When you hold your frame, you signal value. A Stoic doesn't manipulate. He doesn't beg. He doesn't perform. He simply focuses on what he can control, his direction, his craft, his discipline. He is willing to lose her if it means keeping himself. And that kind of man, he becomes burned into her memory, not because he overwhelmed her with attention, but because he made her wonder, why does he feel so complete without me? Stillness is not weakness. Silence is not absence. It's power. It's presence. It's the invisible force that separates the ordinary from the unforgettable. 2. He walks away without fear, because he would rather lose her than lose himself. Most men stay longer than they should. They tolerate disrespect. They negotiate their boundaries. They betray their own voice just to keep the connection alive. But the Stoic man knows, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus. Why? Because walking away when something no longer serves your soul will never look glamorous, but it is always liberating. The weak man clings. He apologizes for her behavior. He explains away red flags. He loses sleep trying to solve what she's not even committed to fixing. But the Stoic man, he observes once, he speaks once, and if the energy doesn't match, he leaves, not with drama, but with discipline. He does not seek closure. He does not beg for explanations. His silence becomes his separation. And that silence, it haunts her, because most women are used to men who panic when they pull away. But the one who doesn't, the one who lets her walk while holding his frame, that man lives in her memory rent-free. Walking away without fear is the ultimate display of self-possession. Not because you don't feel, but because you refuse to be ruled by what you feel. He doesn't leave to punish her, he leaves to protect himself. That kind of man isn't reacting, he's choosing. And that choice, backed by clarity and calmness, is what makes him unforgettable. 3. He controls his emotions because he is his own master. A man who cannot control himself will always be controlled by others, by emotions, by women, by the moment. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. Most men crumble under pressure. One ignored text, one emotional shift, and suddenly he's spiraling, accusing, overthinking, begging, reacting. But the Stoic man, he doesn't flinch, because his peace does not come from her behavior. It comes from within. He doesn't explode in anger. He doesn't drown in anxiety. He doesn't confuse reaction with strength. He remains steady, because steadiness is what creates trust, and trust is what fuels lasting desire. Women aren't drawn to men who feel everything. They're drawn to the man who can feel deeply, but remain unmoved externally. He doesn't suppress emotion, he commands it. He lets it pass through him like wind, without letting it steer the ship. Because here's the truth, a man who loses himself every time she tests him, who pleads every time she pulls away, who argues every time she's emotional, becomes forgettable. Why? Because she was leading his emotional state, and no woman respects a man she can emotionally dominate. But the man who stays calm under pressure, who smiles through tension, who can sit in silence without the need to fix everything, that man becomes unforgettable because he is rare. He becomes her anchor in chaos, her calm when storms rise, her mirror that reflects strength, not drama. Most men try to be liked. The Stoic man earns respect through control, through presence, through stillness, and that respect becomes the foundation of deep attraction. When you control your emotions, you control the frame. And the man who controls the frame controls how he's remembered. 4. He never seeks her approval because he lives by his own code. A man who seeks approval is a man who doubts his own voice, and a man who doubts himself becomes easy to mold, easy to move, and easy to forget. The approval of others is a dream. We wake up when we stop needing it. Marcus Aurelius. Most men want to be liked, so they adjust. They soften their stance. They trade their truth for her comfort. And every time they do that, they shrink in her eyes. Because the moment you need her to agree with you, you've already handed her your power. A Stoic man doesn't seek validation because he's already validated by his actions. He doesn't perform to be loved. He doesn't change to be accepted. He stands where he stands, even if he stands alone. And paradoxically, that's what draws her in. Women test men constantly through disagreement, sarcasm, pushback, just to see if they'll fold. Most do. They explain. They justify. They tiptoe. But the Stoic man, he doesn't move. He lets her have her opinion, and he keeps his. Not to argue, not to dominate, but to show that his values are not up for negotiation. That kind of man commands respect, and respect is a stronger glue than approval ever was. A woman may enjoy a man who constantly agrees with her, but she'll only remember the man who made her rise to meet him. So don't seek approval. Be the approval. Be the standard. Live in such a way that your choices don't ask for permission. They declare who you are. And when a woman feels that kind of self-possession, she doesn't just remember you. She re-evaluates every man who came after you. 5. He makes her earn his attention because he knows his value is not free. The most expensive thing a man can give is not money. It's his attention, his time, his focus, his presence. But most men hand it out like loose change, desperate to be noticed, desperate to be needed. The Stoic man, he understands a simple truth. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca. And the fantasy that giving her more of you will make her want you is the very thing that makes her lose interest. When attention is given too easily, it loses its weight. She doesn't have to earn it. She doesn't have to rise to it. She doesn't have to respect it. And what isn't earned isn't valued. But the man who holds his attention like a currency, who gives it slowly, intentionally, with discipline, that man becomes rare because his energy isn't scattered, it's focused, it's earned, not assumed. And that creates an emotional tension she can't ignore. She starts wondering, what makes him so selective? Why doesn't he chase like other men? What would it take to get more of him? And that shift, that hunger, that curiosity, that's when imprinting begins. The Stoic man does not withhold out of arrogance. He withholds because his attention is sacred. It's reserved for peace, for purpose, for someone who brings depth, not just beauty. He's not cold, he's composed. He's not playing hard to get, he's just hard to distract. While other men flood her phone, he's building something bigger. While others compete for her time, he's moving in silence, letting her wonder what he's up to, and wishing she was part of it. Because the man who makes her earn his presence is the man she remembers long after she's forgotten the ones who gave themselves away too easily. 6. He maintains mystery because he knows that silence is a weapon. Most men rush to reveal everything, their past, their pain, their plans. They think vulnerability is the key to connection, but the Stoic man knows overexposure kills intrigue. Better to be silent than to speak foolishly. Epictetus, women are emotional detectives. They're drawn to depth, to complexity, to the unknown. When you give her all the answers too soon, there's nothing left for her to figure out, nothing left for her to feel her way into. The Stoic man reveals himself slowly. He lets her experience layers, not a full download. He knows that curiosity is more powerful than confession. Mystery isn't manipulation. It's discipline. It's the restraint of a man who doesn't need to be constantly understood. A man who's comfortable letting her wonder where she stands, not to create anxiety, but to reveal who's truly grounded. While other men rush to overshare in the name of honesty, the Stoic remains composed, precise, elusive, not fake, just full of restraint. He's not unpredictable to confuse her. He's unpredictable because his life isn't centered around her. He's the man who listens more than he speaks, who moves without announcing every move, who can sit in silence without fidgeting for her approval. And that silence, it lingers because it forces her to think, to feel, to wonder. And what a woman wonders about, she remembers. The mysterious man becomes addictive, not because he plays games, but because he has layers. And those layers invite discovery, not certainty. That's why she forgets the men who were too easy to read, but never the one who made her imagination do the work. 7. He puts his mission first. Because love is not his god, purpose is most men build their lives around a woman. They revolve, they adjust, they bend, they confuse love with purpose, then wonder why she stops respecting them. But the Stoic man knows. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Epictetus. His mission isn't a hobby, it's his compass. It's the reason he wakes up early and stays focused when others drift. It gives him identity, not in her eyes but in his own. When a man places his woman above his mission, he becomes replaceable. When he places his mission above everything, he becomes irreplaceable. Because a man in motion, a man building something sacred, disciplined, and difficult, is a man she can't ignore. Not because he gives her attention, but because his time is earned, not expected. She sees him moving, and it draws her in. She sees him sacrificing for something bigger than her, and it awakens admiration, not dependency. The Stoic man is not emotionally cold. He feels, he loves, but he never lets those emotions overtake the path he is called to walk. And if she tries to pull him off that path, he doesn't argue, he doesn't explain, he just keeps walking, with or without her. That kind of man is unforgettable. Not because he tried to be her everything, but because he showed her that he was already everything to himself. A man who leads with purpose radiates something that no pickup line, no gift, no good looks can replicate. Direction, vision, power. That's what stays in her mind. That's what makes her rethink every man who came after. That's what makes her remember you. Not as a boy she once dated, but as a man who awakened something in her she couldn't explain. The Stoic doesn't chase love. He attracts it through mission, and if it stays by choice, not dependence. Most men are forgotten, not because they weren't good enough, but because they tried too hard to become something they weren't. They chased when they should have walked. They begged when they should have stood still. They spoke when silence had more weight. But the men, women never forget. They were the ones who stayed rooted in something deeper. They led with self-respect. They chose peace over approval. They honored their path more than her validation. And that kind of man is rare, because in a world obsessed with attention, he chose purpose. In a world full of reaction, he chose control. In a world of weak imitators, he chose to live by virtue. So if you felt something in this message, don't let it fade. Reflect on it. Live it. Become it. Because this isn't just dating advice. This is the mindset of the modern Stoic, grounded, focused, and free. If you're ready to stop chasing and start becoming, if you're ready to build yourself into the man no one forgets, then this is your place. This is your tribe. This is Stoic Inspire. Like the video, subscribe for more timeless masculine truth, and share this with a man who's ready to stop reacting and start rising. Until next time, hold the line and stay stoic.